from the Next to Last show with Charlie Stanhope on WRTH. WRTH, your constant companion in the loathsome silence of the afterlife. All right, spooks and specters, we are back. You just heard Baby Let's Despair by the Flowers of Disgust off the album Barefoot, and before that was When the Bees Come Down, also by the Flowers of Disgust off the album The Viking Trail. Look, you guys, I only have like 4 records over here. I'm doing the best I can. But unfortunately, I'm looking at the clock and it says my time here is almost up. I mean my time in the studio, not my time in this pale and empty simulacrum of reality that exists beyond the gates of grim death, which seems to be functionally endless. But before I go, we've got a bit of news from the community desk. If I can find it. I know it's in here. Oh, okay, here it is. Oh, neat. You guys know that new community center thing they're building out in the harbor? It looks like they finally got a name for it. They're calling it, wow, they really buried it in this big, long announcement, huh? You know what? I'll just read it to you. The Abnormal Court is pleased to announce the final and proper designation for our city's new hub for veiled culture and politics. Designed by the famed occult architect Friday Chen, with consultation from the May-Apple Lodge and the Ordo Athenaeum, and arranged in accordance with the ancient geometries, aligned with the vertex of the 4th and 6th dragon lines in consideration of the motions of the Grand Wheel, this community center will finally provide our people with a safe and respectful place to conduct our business away from the prying eyes of the uninitiated. As such, after many years of deliberation, it has been decided that this space will be known as All Hallows Hall. The court looks forward to seeing you all there when construction is finished in approximately 6 years. Wow, that actually is a pretty rad name. Way better than that busted-ass cathedral thing, which is what we've been calling it around the studio. Good work, Anonymous Naming Committee. Anyway, that's it for me, my fellow dwellers in the hereafter. I'm gonna throw it to my boy Darius on the Catastrophically Late Show, but first, one more hit from the Flowers of Disgust. This one's called As If Everyone Were Dead.
Welcome to The Chimera, a role-playing adventure podcast. This week, we are at long last concluding our game of the Deep Forest, which we've played to set the stage for Season 3, but before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to thank the spectacular Hannah Culbert for performing our intro this week. You probably know Hannah from their role as Slake, the half-orc fighter, artist, and insect aficionado on the 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons podcast, Dames and Dragons. You can find Hannah on Twitter at ThistleCrimes, and you can find Dames and Dragons on your podcast app of choice or at damesanddragons.com. Now, let's get started.
All right, tonight we begin the final quarter the season of winter, and I believe that I'm the first turn because Ethan went last.
Yep. Is there anything we want to touch on before we start? Any big things we want to remember? Obviously, we now have way too much stuff to go over everything.
Yeah, way too much.
Yeah, I think we're just gonna have to have like our timeline in the notes so people can reference them as needed.
Probably a good idea. I mean, the last thing that happened was that Mr. Chamberlain made a spooky, ominous "I'm coming for you guys" thing. So, like, there's that that's happening. I'm trying to scroll in the document. It's not letting me do it. But I just want to see, do we have any projects going on?
Yes.
Did we finish
Yeah,
all of them?
Looks like we have one turn before.
Freeing Micah from his bond of totemship. Got 2 more turns on that.
Yep.
Looks like. And one's about to end this turn. The brands?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Branding
Right,
everybody?
because they got extended by 2. That's right.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, who enacts it's still the person who suggested it, even though it got extended, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that was so the brands is for 3, 2, 1. It'll be the next turn. So not this turn, but the next turn.
Okay.
And your intention is to keep the king till the end?
Yes, in accordance with the rules.
Well, with the rules, the game ends when the king comes out. But I think you said you wanted to just keep the king to the end because, for our purposes, we want to go through the stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So we have our current turn order plan calls for 11 turns in this season. So I just made sure I just took 2 random cards out and made sure that I took 3 cards out, one of them being the king and 2 being random cards I didn't look at, and then put the king on the bottom. Right. So
okay,
that's how we are. So my card for my turn is the 9 of spades.
Oh no.
9 of spades
Ew.
says, disease spreads through the community. Choose one. You spend the week purging the disease. Project dice are not reduced this week. Or you repurpose some human technology to temporarily manage the symptoms. Add an adoption. I think I'm going to go with the first option. So no project dice this week. There is a contagion of nightmares sweeps over the community. It's more than just a spate of bad dreams. There's definitely something sinister and dire about it. And while there's some suggestion that the mortal population is being affected, it clearly seems to be concentrated among the magical folk. There are some minor figures in the community, maybe 1 or 2 people among the Nesbits, but also a lesser vampire here, one of the younger werefolk there, who just simply don't wake up from some particularly terrible dreams. So yes, contagion of nightmares. Project dice don't advance, so there's an action.
Do we want to talk about like how the disease was purged, or do we just want to leave that mysterious?
I think that's actually it's not necessarily part of the deal. Okay. So I'm interested in leaving it open-ended. In fact, I think there was this thing. It happened in sometime in the 50s, right? Good, solid time of paranoia, right?
I was going to say, you mean that period of time where they associate with the Salem witch trials?
Right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Goddamn ergot.
Well, yeah. Does it coincide with the the Red Scare, the
McCarthyism,
the House Un-American hearings?
I think it definitely parallels them, whether or not it directly coincides.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a time of, there's this magical affliction. It's affecting the community. It's, claiming victims. There's a lot of paranoia, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of people accusing one another, or at least thinking, questioning one another's intentions. And then it just stops, right? It just ends, and there's no neat answer behind it. I think cover something old, form an agreement, or start a project. Let's say make an agreement. Yeah. Burlingame Foxglove, this generation's leading member of the Foxglove clan, says we need to prepare for war because there is great danger coming.
The forest spirit says, I am always prepared, but I have no interest in your war.
The old werewolf pack says, you're only starting to prepare now? It's about time you joined the game.
Proserpina Nesbit, the current matriarch of the Nesbits and the Hierophant of the Church of Starry Wisdom, says, "We will prepare, but we will need help in awaking our protector, the Black Cat."
Forest Spirit says, "Do mummies only come in one color?"
Look, most things turn black as they rot. That's legit.
That's fair.
Isn't the whole point of being a mummy that you don't rot?
You just rot nicely.
Yeah. just graceful rotting.
It's a dry rot.
Very good.
Oh.
The thaumaturgists say, we respectfully decline.
The good shepherds say, we will lead the charge.
Great. That's the end of my turn. Braden?
Mm-hmm.
Your card, sir, is the Four of Spades. Four of Spades means all the animals and the most attuned monsters are crying and won't stop. Agree on something about either the cause or cure for this situation, or a great atrocity is revealed from the time of occupation. What is it? Who uncovers it?
Let's go with that great atrocity. So, under protest, a few members of the new Sistren have aided the Nesbits in safely awakening the Black Cat in preparation for whatever this coming war is. As they're doing so, a couple of the Sistren, first one falls down and starts having spasms, then another. They have to be they're removed and suddenly snap out of this once they're a couple hundred yards away, and they report that the wound of Gallows Hill, which partly encompassed the cemetery where the Black Cat was interred, it was not repaired. The stain on the land cannot and should not be removed. In fact, we need to permeate it again.
Okay.
That'll be a project. Let's say 2 turns, and the cat will not be able to be awoken until that is completed.
You're going to get a contempt token from the werewolves.
Oh yeah, probably the foxgloves too.
Foxgloves might be a little bit more okay with it, but...
Well, I'm trying to look back as to who actually tried to seal it, or thought they were sealing it.
I feel like the Sistren was helping.
Well, the old Sistren is gone, so they won't have they're dead, so they won't have a say.
I mean, you can't just add one generally
I'm just
to
thinking
reflect
whoever else
community atmosphere.
Boy, that sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say, how about this? Everyone whose faction was aligned with the process of sealing that has a contempt for that.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of reopening it.
Did we have projects complete there, or are those still delayed?
Projects advance, but there's still one will go off next turn and one the turn after that.
Okay.
And so that was a starter project. All right. Next turn. Vincenzo. 8 of spades. And the 8 means the largest monster among you takes charge of a project. Radically change its nature. Don't modify the project die. When it resolves, tell the community how it went. Or a human relic awakens, frightening the monsters who live near it. What is it? Add a new taboo.
I think I'm going to go with that first one.
Yep.
That's spicy.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
What was the name of that lady who came into town and got instantly promoted?
Oh.
You mean Mr. Chamberlain's assistant?
Yes. If I open up the Google Doc, my computer will just stop working. So.
Oh, Intendant of the Blood
Yes.
was her title.
Yes.
She had a name too, though.
No, I don't think so. It just the entry here just says a woman comes to town. Mr. Chamberlain makes her his Intendant of the Blood.
So the Intendant of the Blood, and I'm not entirely certain it would be the same woman or someone else in that position, with all of this talk of war looming, takes charge of the branding project.
Oh,
Wow.
That's no good.
Here we go, Gothar.
Oh, no.
Oh, God.
The question is, how does it change?
Oh.
That's about to resolve. And also, that's mine. So I can do that in one swoop. So the branding does go forward. It's sort of a small circle with a line straight down the center. And it's generally on sort of the side, like the rib cage, someplace that's usually covered, and isn't incidentally revealed too often. And the previous change that was made to it was that it was supposed to issue a warning if someone died, right?
Or disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
Or disappeared. And it doesn't do that. That wasn't a magic that could be made compatible with what it does now. And what it does now is reveal the true nature of anyone who bears it to anyone who has access to one of those mystic branches. So if you've got one of those branches, you can easily spot any of the supernaturals. You can identify what type they are. You can see their basic intrinsic nature this is sort of a method of very easily distinguishing friend from foe. At least that's the stated intention.
Okay.
Has anybody gotten these brands yet?
I think, yeah, because it was a long project and this is the completion of it, when this project completes, it finishes and everyone is marked.
I was curious, how is it decided who gets one of these marks?
I would assume it's everybody who's just like a part of the quote unquote community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're aware and in on the secrets, you get marked.
Like if you abide by the Constitution and you abide by the system of laws that we've been established, then I would assume that you're marked.
Yeah, I think there's actually probably a slightly different mark if you are fundamentally mortal, like human.
Mm.
So probably the Nesbits mostly get a different mark. But anyone who has powers gets sort of that core branding.
And did we have a complete list of who got the branches? I think we did, is why I'm looking.
I don't think we did. I think they're sort of out there and moving around as the years go by from various powerful figure to various powerful figure.
And there's how many?
I don't think we even set a number.
No? Okay.
No, that sounds like something that'll probably happen between games.
Yeah, I think I had intended that one branch went to each of the main powers that was there at the time.
Mm.
But since then, powers have divided and
Left.
disappeared, and new powers have come.
Yep.
Quite true. All quite true.
But I think it's safe to say that Mr. Chamberlain has one, or she does.
Or both.
That's probably true. Oh, she definitely does. Otherwise, she wouldn't have done this.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Ben, I don't know if you want to answer this, but did was this like a magic, like if you're part of the community, just poof, you're marked, or was this something people had to like submit
it was a
to
process.
voluntarily? Okay. So like people came to houses, or you had to like show up and have it done to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was like branding parties and
Those are different.
Are Tupperware parties a thing? It's the 50s, right?
it is. They are.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely some of them were disguised as Tupperware parties. Okay. Let's see. I don't think I want to uncover something. It's the 50s. Yeah, moving on towards the end game, it's a little tougher to think of actions.
Yep. It's the 60s now, by the way.
Groovy.
So I think after this process is done, the intendant says, this was a necessary action for the benefit of the community in these trying times. We have to know who our people are. It is open for agreement or silence.
Oh, that's make an agreement?
Yep.
Who proposed the branding initially?
I think it was just sort of the general community leadership.
Okay. Then I will simply say the community leaders, in order to save face, say, yes, this is how we intended it to work all along.
Sorry, it's really hard to get into the like character of like assuming that nothing is wrong with this from their perspective, right? Like I know there's something wrong with this, but would the werewolves know that there's something wrong with this?
Or do they have a branch?
So the what is he called? So the Promethean Ishmael. Wait, was it Ishmael or was it Ahab?
Ishmael was, I think, where you landed.
Ishmael.
Right.
Hey, let's just call him Ishmael.
That's what he asks people to call him. Ishmael, the Promethean, says, "I have nothing to hide," and requests that his brand be placed on his forehead.
The siren, who does not have a branch, but is sort of at the mercy of the branches, or at least is sort of the power behind them, does not agree with the whole scheme. And she says, that there is a danger in being too easily seen.
The older werewolves say this does not help us with what's out there, and we don't fear what's in here. I do not see the point.
Desdemona, who is one of the thaumaturgists, becomes quite agitated and denounces the intendant of the blood and her interference in the community's affairs, and her obvious insidious intentions, but is cut short by the other thaumaturgists who like physically have to wrestle her away and sort of make their apologies, and stop the things before they might turn into some sort of a physical altercation.
I think that's that.
Okay. Next card. Next card is the Queen of Spades.
Oh,
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, that's not an uh-oh at all.
Oh,
A festive ritual reveals a good omen. What is the ritual? What is the omen?
is it my turn, right?
Yeah.
It was last. Okay. And are there any projects that are finishing on this turn?
Yeah, reopening the Gallows Hill hermiation.
Like the rift? Okay.
The rift, yeah.
All right.
And I think the totem bond break is also ending this turn, right?
Oh, the
Mm,
totem
think
bond break,
so.
yes.
Okay. So I guess I won't speak as to what happens there, but on the eve when the rift is meant to open again, which let's say it's, Halloween. The community decides to throw a big celebration to, just enliven the place, restore some cheer, smooth acrimony between groups, and foster, a nice community time. And it goes off relatively well. There's a couple drunken fistfights, but everyone who was in one seemed to have a good time, and no, corpses are found, at least not that night. And, nobody drinks anybody else's blood without permission. And overall, it relatively goes, as well as one could expect. And then at midnight, when is there any clock that could be clock tower kind of thing in Salem?
There's a number of churches.
Okay. I don't know if they'd ring bells at midnight though. Well, maybe one does for a Halloween.
Sure.
There's a
Halloween
Catholic church
in Salem,
not too far from there.
so
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
So someone's ringing bells somewhere, probably setting off fireworks. So, one of the, let's say the Church of, what is it? Starry Wisdom, rings its bells for Halloween at midnight. And at the ringing of the last bell, the vision spot, which has been metaphorically dry and unreliable, awakens with new light and seems to be restored to its former power.
Cool.
Isn't that where they are too? So that actually works pretty well.
No, that's in the middle of the bay.
No, but the church is on the.
Oh, I see. Yeah. It's right on the neck there.
Yeah.
It does have a good view.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. 2 different projects finish. So, first, Micah Foxglove. Whose was that?
That was mine. Okay. Normally, under normal werewolf rules, the totem has the freedom, if it's being used badly, to just dissolve the bond.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever happened with Micah in this case left the totem, whether that's actually Micah or not, incapable of having any control over that relationship. The totem was effectively enthralled to the pack, or the pack that basically owned him. So the Foxgloves, the direct descendants that were still alive and still able to deal with this, had to devise a new ritual, do it in secret such that the rest of the pack wasn't aware of them, and eventually make a last pitch to free Micah willingly by the pack. They were denied, even being descendants of Micah, simply because the totem is of such power that it's hard for anybody to give up. So they enact this ritual, part of which has to happen in the Umbra, and part of which has to happen sort of in the general area of where the totem is in the physical realm. And they enact the ritual, and the ritual succeeds and breaks the bonds of Micah, who is able to leave. But in so doing, they irrevocably split the pack, the Foxglove pack, into sort of 2 camps. Well, I guess there would almost be 3 camps now of Foxgloves. There would be sort of the direct descendants, the people who understand what the direct descendants were doing and why they were doing it, the people who wanted to maintain their control over Micah, and the people who had sympathy for them, and then the Good Samaritans. What were the names? The Good
Shepherds.
The Good Shepherds, which are then sort of like outside of that conflict, but probably split somewhat between the two of them, or maybe they don't have any direct cat in that fight. I'm not really sure. But in any case, the pack is broken. The pack is broken. Or I guess the tribe now. I guess they would be their own tribe. No, they would be a pack. The pack is broken, and I'm sure a lot of fighting goes down. But
strictly
that's the
speaking,
results.
we might call them a sept, actually. But
Okay.
that's only if we're using the werewolf terminology. Okay, so essentially there are these two camps now, between pro and con having done that.
Yeah. And there's probably out and out fighting for a while.
Mm-hmm. And reopen Gallows Hill.
Yeah. So let's say the following day after the festivities, which would be All Saints Day. Wait, is it? No, it's All
Souls Day?
All Souls Day. Yeah. Proserpina Nesbit and her appointed sistren perform this ritual. There's probably, a good cross-section of the community who's there to witness it, to make sure nothing bad happens. The Nesbits, as in preparation for this, as sort of a way of atonement for their past transgressions, they've helped to shore up the surrounding area by buying a lot of land. They bought an old leather mill pretty much right at the base of Gallows Hill. A lot of the currently empty land on top of Gallows Hill, just so that there's no fallout. Everything goes fine. The sky goes a little bit blurry around there, a little bit dark for just a minute. Proserpina extends her right hand toward the sheer face of the hill. Her hand turns black, and she walks into the hill and gives a little smile over her shoulder as she disappears.
God damn it.
And then about an hour later, a black cat comes wandering into the area and starts following a few different people around for a few days.
Okay. Action.
Okay. So I think 1973 is another year of the hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was, I think, 1933, so then 53, 73. So the hunt comes through this now, open rift again. And previously they were able to pass through anyway because of the way they were tied to the scar. This time it's easier, but a little bit different because they're just coming through an opening. It's not really connected to them anymore. The Black Hand is still leading them. Their regalia has changed so that all of the hunters on their horses are wearing different masks that look like jackals and crocodiles and Braden, what else was it?
Oh, like ibises, hippopotami.
Yeah.
All your classic Egyptian, Nile animals.
So they sort of changed their style a little bit, but they still ride through Salem and through what remains of the outskirts of town and out of the woods. And when they go back into the rift, they take several of the Nesbits who have ostensibly volunteered with them, and they're each given their own horse to ride. And they all vanish back into the Umbra together.
Nice.
I guess I was going to uncover something old-ish.
That was old.
Yeah.
Okay. Next card. The Jack of Spades. Yes, that's for you, Jeff. The Jack of Spades means in preparation for the coming year, the community begins a huge undertaking. Start a project that will take at least 5 weeks to complete. So 5.
Do we have 5 turns left? Yes, we do. All right. A huge project. Let's see. So did we? Sorry, I missed. Is the vision spot has awoken, but the bridge is still gone.
Right.
I think that with the restoration of the vision spot, the community is going to try to not remake the bridge necessarily. Times have changed. Bridges are old school. But instead, what they're going to do is there anything out there in the bay? I don't care. They're going to build an actual, like, they're going to buy out the land out there or rent the land or whatever they need to do. And they're going to straight up build like a man-made island out there with a man-made castle-y structure, probably a little bit more modern than that. But the idea that it would be like sort of an official place to actually hold like community meetings instead of sort of the ad hoc hiding here and there kind of place. It would be sort of the official spot for the supernaturals in this area. It would be well guarded. It would have, it would be like a true community center for the supernaturals. It will be on that vision spot. And yeah, that'll be 5 weeks.
And this will exist in the real world?
This will exist in the real world.
Does it have
an ostensible like
Cover story.
a front meaning? Yeah, an ostensible.
Yeah, I picture it being like this sort of like in my ideal world, right? It's like this spooky place that, people tell stories about, oh, this rich guy owns that place and he does weird rituals there. And it's like one of those kinds of places.
Some rich eccentric's house.
Right.
Everyone's got some bullshit story.
Right, exactly.
Okay. And that is currently our only project, I believe.
Yeah.
So, action.
I think that I am going to say that we're going to uncover something old. The contagion of nightmares returns, but in addition to the contagion of nightmares that returns, the creatures that fell asleep and never woke up, specifically those creatures, start to hunt and kill the human members of Salem. So they're out while this contagion is happening during the night. They hunt and kill humans in the city or in the town.
So like sleep hunting,
basically.
Wait, are the people who never woke up in the previous incidents, or now it's the
people who never woke up in the previous incident?
Okay.
And then those who die or never wake up in this one, the supernaturals who don't wake up, will join them the next time the contagion happens. Or at least that's my goal.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay. Very good. Ethan, it's you. Card is the Seven of Spades. Seven of Spades means a grand funeral is held in the community. Who or what was it for? What legacy is enshrined through this ritual? Or someone begins to construct a place to nurture young monsters. Start a project to reflect their endeavor.
I'm going to pick the second. And I am going to say the thaumaturgists are looking to increase their numbers and are actively pursuing members of the mortal community as well as mortal members of the supernatural community. Nesbits, primarily in Nesbits, I guess.
Werewolves tend to have human pack members too, so that would be
okay.
A
Sure.
place you could take.
To coax them to being embraced.
Werewolves aren't gonna like that.
They gonna take contempt?
Yeah, probably.
They're not. I mean, they're not like demanding it. Whatever. They're just come on over and give it a shot.
Hey, first one's free.
No, it's definitely a good way to get a werewolf pissed off is to turn their cousin into a vampire. That is right at the top of the list.
Sure.
Contempt.
Okay, project takes down 1. And an action, Ethan.
Uncover something old. The branch that was given to the original Sistren, who are now dead, is discovered to be missing. And no one knows where it is.
I'm going to make sort of a little college-y shape over here around the thaumaturgist symbol
Good plan.
in Northfields to symbolize come on over to here.
Come on over. It's eternal life. So my card is the 6 of spades. What is winter like in this area? What is the most common reaction to this weather? Complaining about it.
Yep.
One of the monsters enters hibernation or metamorphosis. How must the community scramble to make up for their absence? Okay.
Who's going to set the fires while the Promethean sleeps?
Of course, here we could mean winter in the sort of metaphorical period of time sense.
Mm-hmm.
The winter of our discontent, etc.
I'm going to introduce some new figures on the board because I feel like I'm running out of juice with the old ones. So, at the Salem Athenaeum, there is a loose. There's a few magi affiliated with that space. I'm going to call them the Chantry of the 8-sided sign. Nope, that doesn't work. Too silly. Chantry of the ombre robe. Sure. And one of their less accomplished members, a Mr. Bartholomew, embarks on some ill-considered experience of his own, and in a terrible... is it an accident? Was it intentional? Did someone cause whatever bizarre arcane undertaking he was engaged in to fail in a catastrophic way? Whatever the cause, he goes from being a relatively underperforming mage to a terrible insectoid monstrosity, and scuttles off into the sewer system.
Ooh.
Whoops.
All right, so now I have to choose an action. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 turns left. Who hasn't done anything recently? I'll kind of have. I will say the good shepherds set out to slay the horror. But let's start a project. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to say it's a 5-turn project. So that'll take us off the chart.
To slay, I'm sorry, the horror?
The terrible insectoid monstrosity. Putting these two things together.
Oh,
Yes.
Mr. Bartholomew.
He has a name.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Just because he turned into a giant insect monster doesn't mean he's not still Mr. Bartholomew.
All right. That's the end of my turn. And now it's Braden's turn.
Yes.
And your card, Braden, is the 3 of spades. A monster calls for peace with the humans. Agree on something about why this is a good or a bad idea. Or a monster calls for a second war with the humans. Uncover something old on the map that will enhance or impede a war effort.
Huh. Okay. All right. I've got something. The Church of Starry Wisdom has been pretty much decommissioned since its leader was revealed to be apparently in league with an ancient evil. The building is now being reclaimed, and one of the good shepherds is keeping an eye on this process, just for safety, and she discovers some of Proserpina Nesbit's writings, some of her dream journals in which she talks of walking in the underworld hand in hand with the Black Hand through a city of golden pyramids and attending the court of the King of 10,000 Arms in this city. And he has requested her assistance in retrieving the skulls of the 9 worms to decorate the doors of his palace. This city of golden pyramids also lines up with those old Nesbit stories of promised land. The Good Shepherd brings this to the rest of the community with the presumption that these are some key battle plans that they've recovered.
So essentially the war has already been started?
Yeah. People have been talking about war in very general terms. This seems to make it a little bit more specific. It's going to involve these 9 worms.
Okay.
And that'll be... Let's just put a little circle around the Church of Starry Wisdom to mark that. And what else is going on? Okay, so there's...
Projects take down, and then you get an action.
Yeah. Anything completing now?
No.
Okay.
No. The last thing that we'll complete in this cycle will be in 2 turns from now.
Okay. In terms of history, the Peabody Essex Museum is expanding. There's a couple of new wings, and there's a whole new Chinese house that's been imported brick by brick. The Nesbits have been involved in this. All their original resources pretty much spent on various projects over the years. They're now fully investing themselves in the projects of the Peabody Essex Museum and working on expanding their Egyptian wing. As for an action, let's say, well, let's make that one more project. To recover relics of old Irem. And we'll make that a 4-turn project.
Okay, so that'll also take us past the end of the timeline.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Cool.
That'll be something that is ongoing in our regular game.
Yep.
And now I have to take off.
Okay.
Bye.
Right. Good night, all.
Bye, Brandon.
Good night.
Remember to stop recording and export.
Yes,
Bye.
thank you.
All right. Then your card is the 2 of spades.
The 2.
That means a headstrong monster decides to lead a raiding party to take resources from a nearby human settlement. One project fails due to a lack of monsters willing to work on it. Or a headstrong monster insists that all the members of the community be trained to fight off the humans. No project dice are reduced this week.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's got some substantial potential implications. So we have 3 different projects going on right now. There's the Nesbit project. There's the Good Shepherds hunting Mr. Bartholomew, or what the thing that used to be Mr. Bartholomew. How about that?
What, did he change his name? No, he's still Mr. Bartholomew.
He's chittering at you in insectoid gibberish. You don't know if he's saying that he has a different name now or not.
He's modeling himself after Prince.
And the Vision Spot Island.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to say a headstrong monster decides to lead a raiding party to take resources from a nearby human settlement, and one project fails. That monster is Mr. Bartholomew. And the resources that he's looking for are mostly chemicals, actually. It's sort of inscrutable as to what, he's both a monster and a sort of magical scientist. But he is diving headlong into, some nearby chemical storage facility and gathering up some stuff. Does anyone know which stuff or what that stuff does? Depends on if anyone's willing to look into it. But
I'm kind of imagining Mr. Bartholomew as Zorak now.
Yeah, that fits with the initial description too. So that project fails.
So, the project of hunting him down.
Yep.
Yep.
Because now he has a new lair somewhere. It's much harder to find. And he's stocked up on some chemical juice.
So gross.
And project dice tick down. Does anything finish?
No. The construction project will finish on the next turn if nothing else interferes with it.
All right. And now I need an action. All right, I'm going to uncover something old. A couple of the Sistren head up to the cave that was formerly inhabited by one Mr. Arthur Chamberlain, because it's been there a long time. It's been something that's been on the minds of a lot of people, but everyone's sort of given it a wide clearance. And they've finally decided that it is pretty necessary to check it out, especially with all these nightmares and curses and bugmen. And it's mostly pretty empty. There's a sort of Spartan living space that's still down there. There's a sort of an old Victorian desk and a chair and a bed, which are nice, but have been there in disuse for several ages. And on the desk is one of those several volumes of accumulated visions that he compiled, still bound in iron chains. They are not able to open it.
Cool. Kacey, I'm going to give you your card, and then I'm going to take a bio break, so you have time to think about it.
Okay.
10 of spades. So let me read Kacey what the 10 of spades is.
I'll read the 10 of spades. A monster goes missing in the winter elements, whatever those happen to be. The community organizes constant search parties, and eventually the monster is found. Choose one. All that is found is a body, clearly murdered by human weapons, or the monster is found unharmed, clearly saved by human kindness.
So the forest spirit goes missing, and that's concerning in and of itself because she's one of the longest standing members of the community. But it's also troublesome because when she disappears, the branches stop working. So there is a rigorous attempt to find her and discover, where she is and what's befallen her. She's found within the territory of the older werewolf pack with her throat ripped out. So the werewolves, no one, is coming forward to admit that they did it, that they were responsible. And in fact, there's vehement denial that any one of their members would ever do such a thing. They were the Good Shepherds formed from members of their community, and they protect the even when they disagree, they've never struck out and so on and so forth. But there's a general kind of distrust sown between the community and the werewolf pack, and the werewolf pack's trust in the community, because if they didn't do it, then why were they set up to look like they did it? And the branches, don't no longer seem to function.
When you say they don't function, do you mean all of the functions or just their original function?
All of the functions, I was going to say. And then are there any projects that finished this round?
I think the island finishes, right?
Yeah, I believe the island finishes.
Jeff, time to make an island.
Yay! So, after many, many years, the island project is complete. The lights turn on for the first time. The entire place is suffused with various rituals and rites from various different supernatural types to sort of help enforce this sense of neutrality. There are things to dampen aggression and limit the ability of sort of aggressive behavior, things to enforce like pacts and agreements and contracts. It's just a good place to go and a safe place to go, or as safe as one can conceivably make it, to go and talk and have a fraught conversation in a place that's relatively safe. So it's kind of styled in that sort of John Wick hotel with those kinds of rules, but they're all magically enforced in one way or another. If you want to get there, you take a boat. There are people who are volunteers who guard the place, and there's probably just a rotating series of supernaturals who go in and sort of maintain the place on a volunteer basis, and that swaps off from supernatural to supernatural every couple of years or something like that. And there it goes. And it's also built right on the center of the vision place, so that the vision place kind of exists in the center, the most center room. You can still access that center place without having to be on the water.
Nice.
Does the island have a name?
I don't have a name for it yet, but we can name it.
All right. So there's something I kind of want to get in. I don't really know that it falls under any of the groups, but I want to do it anyway. So, and I'm fudging it a little bit because this would have been in 2013, I think. So this is the last wild hunt before the start of play. And it is a little bit different from all the hunts that have gone before. I mean, things have changed a little bit with the Black Hand leading it at all, but there's always sort of this rhythm. They come through the rift. They're, seen throughout places. They don't really interfere with the town, but they frighten people and different people see them. And then, as night kind of moves towards morning, they, horns blaring and clearly triumphant, they move back into the rift, or if they're not, there seems to be the hunt is completed. This time the pursuit seems to be a little bit longer. The sun is almost coming up and they still haven't really come back to the rift. They're a little bit more invasive in that, property gets damaged and a couple people get mildly injured as they're knocked aside. And it just seems to be, off kilter. And when they go back into the rift, seconds before the sun crests up over the horizon, there's no trumpeting and there's just a sense of sort of simmering anger and frustration rather than sort of jubilation at the completion of the hunt. So that happened.
Okay. Last turn of winter. Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
It means that you get the King of Spades.
The heroes arrive. The game is over.
Yeah, it's not really... Basically...
The game is over.
Basically, clocks tick down. The game is over. I think you can take an action if you want to.
Let's see. I wasn't thinking I could take an action, but I will take one if I can. Okay, I would start a project for the old school werewolves to figure out what happened with the forest spirit. It's a deeply society, to the pack itself. This is a deeply, deeply disturbing accusation. Some members understand where that accusation comes from. And even within the pack itself, there's distrust between the pack and the rest of the community, but there's also distrust within the pack itself. This starts to tear at the sort of fabric of what makes up a pack, because different werewolves are looking at each other like, who could have possibly done this? It looks like one of us did that. And they start a project to find out who did it. So I don't know how long this would take. I would say to keep it reasonable and keep it game relevant, I would say 1 turn or 2 turns. But that is an active thing that they are very concerned about figuring out.
Very cool. Okay. We did it, y'all.
We did it.
We got to the end.
It feels weird because it kind of snowballed toward the end. I felt like the
That's it this week for the Chimera. Our theme music is Hoof, Heart, and Hiss by Matt Weber, and you can find a link to more of Matt's work in the show notes. Our intro this week was performed by Hannah Colbert of Dames and Dragons. You can find Hannah on Twitter at ThistleCrimes, and you can find Dames and Dragons at Dragon Dames or at damesanddragons.com. You can find us online at thechimera.space or on Twitter and Facebook at ChimeraPod. You can support the show at patreon.com/chimerapod, and we've got some changes coming up to the Patreon soon, and we should be announcing those here in the feed sometime before the next episode. Speaking of the next episode, we'll be back in 2 weeks with the first proper installment of Gallows Hill. I hope y'all are ready to find out what happens when Gothic punk meets local government. As always, thanks for listening.
I'm going to throw it to my boy Darius on the Catastrophically Late Show. But first, one more hit from the Flowers of Disgust. This one's called As If Everyone Were Dead.
I love you more than a train wreck. You make me feel squishy inside. When your heart beats next to me like 1,000 cattle drives, thundering across the plains of my soul. It's just as if everyone were dead. Said it's just as if everyone were dead. Well, I spilled paint thinner in my eyes, but at least your voice still rings in my ears like the world's largest and best bell. Girl, right now it seems like everyone were dead. Said it seems as if everyone were dead. the termites of love are eating